Come on, Soda Pop, let's go.
Very good. Is there anybody in the audience who wanted to speak to the council on it? Please, welcome, sir. Good to have you here. You're welcome. Sure, if you'd just introduce yourself to the people of our town, please. Thank you.
Mayor, council members, thanks for giving me a few minutes of your time. My name is Darin McDonald.
Hi, Darin.
I was here in front of you a couple months ago to describe my experience with the city in regards to my dumpster enclosure at 2200 East 10th Street. I appreciate the progress the city has made in complying with its own ordinance.
Welcome.
I'm still looking forward to driving down West Russell Street and looking over to the arena and the Howard Wood field houses being in compliance someday, but we're making progress. It's been brought to my attention that there is going to be a first reading of proposed changes tonight to certain ordinances. I don't quite know how these procedures work, far as if any of you have seen any of the proposed changes already before tonight, or if it'll be the first time. I mean, I have the one I'm questioning on my phone. I don't know if we can get it up there at all on the screen for everybody to see, but it is the ordinance that I'm questioning, or one of the ordinances that is going to be proposed for change is ordinance number 160.485, landscape standards, and then subsection C, the screening of the dumpsters. In my opinion, the proposed changes in this ordinance directly benefit the city. Two of the changes being added is the verbiage "from view of the street right away." That's going to be added to it. And then taken away is going to be not requiring a gate anymore. The questions I have: how does this affect city parks? Was the omission of with a gate put in to bring Terrace Park up to compliance? Are alleys road right-of-ways? And the other question I have is, what about prior businesses that have been forced to comply with the original ordinance? To put my gate alone, the cost of my gate and installation alone were $500, and now we don't need a gate, or that's going to be one of the proposed changes anyhow. When I was here a couple months ago, I don't know if I conveyed to you how I was made to feel like a criminal by the city when I was taken to court for my fines, but I definitely was. I felt like a criminal. I'm a small business owner, but I was taken to court for something that I was trying to get up to compliance with. But I don't feel like I was ever given a chance to appeal my first fine, and for that, I don't feel a $600 judgment against me is even legal. But besides that, the reason why I ask about the changes benefiting the city is because most of the city dumpsters are not in view of the street right away. You can't drive down the street and look into the park and see them. Like Arrowhead Park, you drive way in there, and I bring my family out there for our Christmas pictures this year, and what I see, big red dumpsters sitting there. And it's kind of like, it's not very pleasant to look at, when I've been, like I said, made to feel like a criminal. And some of the other parks have multiple dumpsters where it doesn't even make feasibility to put gates in front of them all, I don't want to make the garbage haulers' jobs impossible. When you got 8 dumpsters in a row, do I think there should be a gate in front of every dumpster? Of course I don't. But I was made to put one up, and at a great expense, and for a small business struggling to stay open every day, I just wanted to comment, and I appreciate your time.
Darin, thank you very much. No, great job. And Darin, too, if you would, just leave your, in fact, we've already got your information. Mike Cooper or someone from Planning and Zoning can give you more detail. There will be a first reading of which they'll just talk about the topic, and then there's a second reading. The second reading, there's an opportunity for public input. All right. So yeah, stay tuned.
I'm gonna get ahead of the game.
Great job. Thank you, Darin. No, great job. Thank you.
Item 21 is the first reading to set a date of hearing and second reading for Monday, February 2nd, 2015. An ordinance of the City of Sioux Falls, South Dakota, amending the 2013 Shape Places Zoning Ordinance of the City of Sioux Falls. Planning Commission recommends approval.
This is an application by the City of Sioux Falls Planning Department. It's an ordinance to provide some corrections and edits to the Shape Sioux Falls zoning ordinance so it can be implemented correctly. And I'll run through some of the brief highlights of the edits that we are proposing. First, we're proposing to reorganize some of the bulk regulations for the above forms. We are looking at modifying the full-service restaurant spacing requirement in the RE6 form, which predominantly is used in the downtown area, and that will make it more consistent with on- and off-sale alcohol within that form. We are proposing to add the RE5 form, which is retail of unlimited size, and the MD3 form, which is apartment residential high density, to the pedestrian-oriented PUD zoning district. We are looking at modifying the screening of dumpsters in the outdoor storage section to make it more consistent with our enforcement standards. And finally, we are looking to edit the buffer yard requirements to allow screen fences as an option instead of the berms that are required.
Jason, thank you. Councilor Staggers.
Yes. Can you respond to what Darin said during his presentation, during that 5-minute session, about going out into the parks and so forth? And this is not going to apply to some of the dumpsters in our parks, the screening.
Nope, the proposed ordinance is essentially just cleaning it up for our enforcement standards. I know the gentleman had talked about gates. Why we took that out is it was because it was redundant. A dumpster enclosure needs to be fully screened with an opaque fence or wall, so that includes a gate. So that won't change any of the requirements. We also added that from the view of the street right-of-way. We felt that was something that needed to be added into there to help with our enforcement from the zoning office.
Yeah, but once again, we want to try to screen it from being viewed from the right-of-way because it doesn't look good. So if you're in a park and driving around a park like Arrowhead or wherever you're at in a Sioux Falls City Park, and you can see these dumpsters in the park and they're not screened, wouldn't it be advisable to screen those so they don't look undesirable in a park?
That's something we can look at. With this ordinance, we are proposing just to do it from the street right away, and that's not necessarily because of our city parks. It's for all businesses, parks, any kind of area within the city.
But what I'm saying is, before the second reading, have an amendment or modify it.
Sure, we can look into that.
Okay, because we're going to vote on it next week, I assume, aren't we? No, February 2nd, yeah.
Correct.
Okay.
Okay.
And Councilor, you can also propose an amendment at that time, of course.
Yeah, but it'd be nice, for them to go ahead and do it. They have the expertise.
Move to set the date of hearing and second reading for Monday, February 2nd, 2015.
Is there a second on that?
Second, Karski.
Thank you, Councilor Karski. I really appreciate that. Councilor Anderson Jr. has made a motion to set a date of hearing and second reading for Monday, February 2nd. It has been seconded. Councilor Urbanbach?
Thank you. I'm hearing, Jason, I'm not only hearing it from Councilor Staggers, but I'm hearing it in my ear here too, that the dumpster thing is going to be one way or the other. If we've decided that we're going to change the rules because we figured out it's too hard to do, then we need to treat our citizens equally. And so that's an issue. So hear that and see the heads nodding while I'm saying this. Hear that dumpster issue being a big deal to us and that it will get amended out if staff doesn't do something about it. The other question I have two other questions actually, if I might. One is define what is unlimited size retail. What is that? What would that be? And why are we doing that?
Currently, the RE5 form would allow retail above 75,000 square feet. What this is really coming about is the Lake Lorraine pedestrian-oriented PUD. We feel that with these PUDs, we have the ability to go to Planning Commission and with their initial development plans, look at their specific development. They're requesting to do some retail above 75,000 square feet. So as a staff, we feel like that's an okay use within this pedestrian-oriented PUD to allow that larger retail. We did add a section within the standards for initial development plan to make sure that we keep those pedestrian connections. We felt that it was very beneficial if we're going to add this higher retail and this a larger apartment residential uses, we wanted to make sure that they are maintaining those pedestrian connections within this PUD, essentially, pedestrian-oriented PUD. If we didn't allow that form, then what they would do is just rezone a section of it out of the pedestrian-oriented PUD to, say, C4 to allow this big retail, and then we feel like we're going to lose our control with the pedestrian connections and to make this whole development work together.
Okay. One more, if I might, Mr. Mayor. The other one that caught me was changing, and again, you know, you've just given us sort of that 1,000-foot level, but talk about why we would change the berm option to a fence option, and would there still be the distance? I mean, the thing that I liked about the berm, and I walked through Shaped Places in all those committee meetings, the thing I liked about the berm was it required space. A fence doesn't require space. That hints to me that I could bump things up more closely. Can you talk about that reasoning, please?
The buffer yard distance will not change. The berm still had to be in the buffer yard. If there was a 20-foot buffer yard, you had to have the berm. If you want to do a fence, it still needs to be that 20-foot buffer yard. What we were running into is a lot of the developers working with the neighbors, working with themselves. There was a lot of times where the berm just wouldn't work. And so they would go to Planning Commission for these alternative site plans to do the fence instead of the berm. So as a staff, we said, well, if we're going to approve, if Planning Commission is going to approve these site plans, why not just add it as an option? And we feel it still allows the same screening and same buffering to do a fence or a berm, either or.
So it would be an either or situation?
Yes.
I'm not, okay.
So like one of the examples, like in a level B buffer yard, we're proposing you can do a 4-foot berm or a 6-foot screen fence. Previously, you could just do a 4-foot berm. So we feel it gives them the option to do the fence instead of the berm, which seems to be more of a thing that the neighbors want and the developers want.
I guess I could see it as a drainage issue. Building a berm might run into.
We have run into a lot of that. Last month we had an alternative site plan that was because berming in the back will not allow the drainage to go the way it's supposed to go.
Okay, good. Thank you. Appreciate it.
Good job, Councilor Rolfe.
Thank you, Jason. On the RE3, changing that, allowing, what I'm hearing is that you want to allow more than 25,000 square feet to be available under our RE3 with this change, correct?
No, that's,
okay.
We're not proposing that. Are you referring to the amendment to the pedestrian-oriented PUD?
I'm looking at my notes on this in the second part where it says, or is that a continuation from no? Where it says street is less than 25,000 square feet. Parking-oriented retail employment is less than 25,000. RE5, regional retail, unlimited, and MD, where RE5 now is limited to a 0 setback. Well, what I'm concerned, let me put it this way, what I'm concerned is when we get this is that we're saying, okay, for the Lake Louise thing, we're changing this ordinance to allow some bigger stores into this area. Why wouldn't that come down, instead of changing the whole ordinance, why wouldn't those then come down as individual conditional use permits under this form of zoning, rather than change it now for everybody going forward? I think something like that makes more sense.
We're not really changing the ordinance. We're changing what forms are allowed in zoning districts. So what we're trying to do is add the RE5 form to a pedestrian-oriented PUD zoning district. That's what we're proposing with this. We're not proposing to change anything with the RE3 form.
But if you don't allow it before,
yep, but we would.
For allowing it, wouldn't
Sure.
that be a better way to do it, is with a conditional use permit, to come to us and say, here are the specifics on this one, because they don't match up with this particular thing that we're seeing. It's a unique thing. That's exactly what a conditional use permit is for, so that we don't go around changing it for one or two situations. I guess that's my concern here. We've just got this thing going. Let's not change so much right away that we, somewhere down the line, we'll have to change it back again, like we're looking at doing here with the with the garbage thing. Does that make any sense? I'm just directing that that's going to come up. You might think about it.
Okay.
Councilor, thank you. Councilor Karski.
Jason, is there a reason why this has to be done by February 2nd? Is there something that's
No, there isn't a reason. We've kind of just, with the stance in the planning department, we've said that every 3 months we would like to do ordinance amendments and then wait 3 months and do rezonings of properties that we feel were a mistake, and then come back in 3 months and do ordinance amendments. So we're doing them twice a year. So there's nothing here that needs to be done by February 2nd. They're just things that we're trying to keep updating this before, you know, busy season comes along. We'd like to get them through and get them approved and effective before construction season.
Okay. Personally, and I'm looking around the room at my fellow councilors, and I'm seeing a lot of kind of questions on faces, and it's a lot for us to get our minds around without probably even having it at an informational meeting where you could bring this to us so that we could probably have a little bit more discussion and understand. I mean, these are major changes, and it is a change to the ordinance. I am going to make a substitute motion to change the date of second hearing to Tuesday, March 3rd, so that, and have you bring this to us at an informational meeting so that we can ask more questions.
Second, Anderson.
There's been a change to the original motion to set the date of hearing and second reading for Tuesday, March 3rd, 2015 at 7 p.m. to allow for more time. It has been seconded as well. Before I go to the vote, did you have any comments, Councilor Jameson?
Thank you. Councilor Karski did pretty much get the message across that I wanted to get across, and I think that's fine. But one other question I did have, if I could, the issue on the dumpster enclosures. Does the city of Sioux Falls have any of these that are out of compliance today?
With dumpster enclosures, I think we've had some in the past. I'd have to check with the zoning office to see which ones that they have out of compliance with dumpsters.
We should certainly know if we have any out of compliance before we change this. I understand it takes a lot of time and the seasonal efforts that can get done. It's hard to construct some things in the winter, but I think we should know that before we move this along further. Thank you.
Councilor Stegers.
Yeah. Darin told us he was fined $600. Is there anybody in the city that's fined $600?
I wouldn't know those things. I'd have to check with the zoning office.
Does anybody know? Anybody's fined?
I would say we're probably not fining ourselves for violating the dumpster ordinance.
I agree with you. Yes, I agree. Yeah. So I think one should wonder, should we be fining him $600? We're not fining ourselves or somebody being held responsible in the city.
I know I would, if I may.
Yes, Councilor.
I would appreciate that information, maybe the numbers and that kind of thing when you bring that to the informational meeting. Sure. Find out how many have been fined and for what reasons, et cetera, and maybe we can look at it at that point.
Sure.
There has been an amendment to the original motion, a substitute motion. Thank you, David. Appreciate that. To set a date of hearing and second reading for Tuesday, March 3rd for item 21. A roll call vote, please.
Council members Erpenbach?
Yes.
Jamison? Yes. Karski?
Yes.
Kylie?
Yes.
Rolfing?
Yes.
Staggers?
Yes.
Anderson?
Yes.
That is passed 7-0. David, does that take care of it? Thank goodness. Item.
Come on, Soda Pop, let's go. Come on, let's go. Come on.